1. Go.
Hi, everybody. It's the Wednesday edition of Pro Line. I'm Dave Coken. Jim Spice is with me, and we will tell you about the basketball, football. Got some good stuff to talk about today on the blog, on the podcast. We'll start off with an announcement of a big game tonight for me. I've got a college basketball game of the week going tonight, and you can get it online right now at the website. This is an information. It's not inside information or anything like that, but it's good information that I think is going to lead to a win tonight. So get the game, college basketball game of the week. Jim, how about you?
Well, I got 4 plays up in, actually 3 plays up in college hoops tonight. And I also have 3 plays up already for the NFL weekend. So I like people getting in there, getting the early lines so that they don't have to pay the wrong price. And I'd suggest going to the website, jimfeist.com, vegasportsmasters.com, and get those plays so that you can get the right price before they move in the direction that we don't want them to move in.
Well, we've got some football to talk about. The Raiders, when they still rolled out the red top to John Gruden, ton of money, massive contract. It's the biggest contract Coach has ever signed. What effect do you think this is going to have on the public perception of the Raiders going into next season?
Well, I believe the next 2 years they're still going to be in Oakland. So
yeah.
Gruden is going to play to that fan base that they have there in the black hole. And that's good. That's smart. And try to get the momentum going there. But, quite frankly, when you look at Gruden's history, he had that 1 year that he came in and did really well, but the rest of his history, he was actually quite average. So, and you look at the Raiders in 2016, I feel like under Del Rio, they were quite lucky. They won a lot of very close games. Last year, they looked like a train wreck, quite frankly. A lot of people thought that they were going to be in the Super Bowl, and they weren't even close to being anywhere near that good. And you're gonna have to take a look at Carr and his work ethic and working under Gruden. Gruden's going to have to step up his game to overcome what he has done in the past as well. I know it's a media blitz and it sounds good and it feels good and it's kind of romantic and all that, but the work begins now. Recruiting, drafting players, getting free agents, putting your head coaches together, your offensive and defensive coaches, and your line coaches, and your quarterback coaches, and all that stuff that has to go together to make a team successful. It's not as easy as just hiring a guy and pay him $100 million. It's going to take a lot of work. Now, you also have to consider, there's other teams in that division that are doing the same thing, and in order to get into playoffs and eventually get to the Super Bowl, you have to beat teams that are in your division pretty much, or you have to get lucky and get in a wild card spot and do well. So you got to look at what's going on around those other teams. And right now, of course, Denver's a mess. Kansas City looks like they're going to have to go into some kind of a rebuilding situation there. I mean, there's talk of Smith leaving, and there's the hue and cry to get rid of Reed and all that. And San Diego's still playing in a pillbox where they don't have much home field advantage. So in that respect, Oakland has some advantages because none of the other teams are solid. And so that, looking at the overall picture, I would say, they could have a winning season in that division next year. They have the talent to do that. They didn't do it well this year, but it's possible because those other teams are a mess.
All right, we move on, and I like this. This stuff always abuses me. The Philadelphia Eagles players are talking about how they now like the fact that they're underdogs. This is a quote from Lane Johnson, their all-pro tackle. I'd rather be picked not to win than win. I think everybody perceives us being the weakest, and that's fine. I think that's good. I think if teams want to overlook us, that is good. We'll just see about Saturday. We're excited. We know what people are saying. Well, they're saying it because the team's been terrible. It's almost like they're trying to talk to. When I hear that, it's almost like, we like being the underdog. No, you don't. You wouldn't go on about it so much if you did. I think this team's got some big mental problems going into this football game. And I know from a value standpoint, it's a terrible number. But boy, I think Atlanta's going to go in and beat him. I think the Philadelphia team really is a mess right now.
Well, I can't really agree with you, and the reason I say that, and I don't take me wrong, I respect your opinion. Here we have, okay, let's go back to the Ram game last week. The Rams special teams messed that game up pretty bad in the beginning, and there wasn't clear domination by Atlanta. Granted, now you got to look at the facts about Atlanta. This is a team that was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl last year. Basically the same crew. Sarkisian took over offensive coordinator position, calling the plays, etc., and he has not done that well. Their offensive production has fallen off a lot. Their defense has done much better. Now you've got to remember their defense is, their head coach is Dan Quinn, who is a defensive coach. So it's not surprising that their defense would improve. However, and this doesn't, this statement I'm going to make doesn't always matter. Atlanta hasn't played all that well when they have visited Philadelphia in the past.
No. I'm not making any case for Atlanta. I don't think the Eagles can beat the Giants right now.
Well, the question is, Dave.
I think they're completely shot mentally.
Okay, I know what you're saying. And when they went to the Eagles went to Philadelphia or to New York a couple of weeks ago, they gave Eli Manning the best game of the year, 434 yards passing, and they have Giants had no wide receivers, no running backs, no offensive line, and the Eagles looked like shit, quite frankly.
Yeah.
However, the Eagles had already known they were in the playoffs. They had just lost their quarterback, who is definitely a special quarterback, MVP type quarterback, talented beyond, and Foles is nowhere near him. However, I do have to give them a little bit of credit. Atlanta had to travel to the West Coast. Now they got to come back to the East Coast. They're going to be playing outdoors, and it could be that you never know about the weather. It doesn't look like it's going to be terrible, but you never know. It changes overnight. But here's the problem: it's Sarkisian against Schwartz. That is a mismatch. Schwartz is a hell of a defensive coach. Philadelphia has a great defensive front seven. They have a good running game. They got a decent offensive line. And if they can keep Foles under wraps so that they don't make Foles try to win the game, it starts to get a little bit dangerous. I don't think there's a 10-point difference between Foles and Wentz. I really just don't believe it. And quite frankly, Philadelphia most of the year looked like the best team in football. Now granted, they had Wentz who could stretch the field and all that stuff. This guy cannot do that. He cannot extend plays. Foles he can make a lot of mistakes, and he looked like crap the last couple of weeks he played. However, even if he's average, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a defensive war. That's what it's going to be. It's a defensive war. There's going to be a lot of running. There's going to be a lot of, the offensive talent, there's no question. Matt Ryan and his receivers and running backs have the edge. Home field and defense, and you get Schwartz against Sarkisian, I'm not so sure it's a mismatch. I don't know that. I'm not going to argue that Atlanta might win the game. I'm going to argue that this line is ridiculous.
Well, we'll find out on this weekend. They're gonna have to prove it to me. They haven't played a good quarter since the guy got hurt. I think Wentz is worth 2 touchdowns, physically and mentally. It's one of the biggest drop-offs I've ever seen. You have to understand. I think Nick Foles stinks. And I don't think he's an NFL level quarterback. I think he's strictly a backup. And now, if he was more than that, somebody would have picked him up and given him a chance to play. But we'll find out.
Well, Dave, let me step in there, and this is the part of the conversation that I actually agree with. Foles did not always play in Philadelphia. He had that 1 year where he was 27 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions, which is absolutely remarkable. But you look at the rest of his career, it's been really a little bit below average. And I'd rather, based on the way Foles played, Case Keenum looks like Joe Montana compared to Foles. And I'm not knocking Case Keenum. I think he's got a great job. But other than that 1 year that he played, I'm not saying Foles is going to win this game for them. I'm saying the rest of the team is very, very good. And yes, the mental part of it, they probably lost a lot of the mental edge when Wentz went down because they probably don't really believe in Foles. But they're going to have a game plan that's going to be a little bit different than depending on the quarterback. And you can believe that.
All right. Well,
that's going to happen.
It'll be fun to find out. Meanwhile, we're looking forward to a result tonight in college basketball. College basketball game of the week is up right now at JimFights.com. I'm looking at my NFL game of the week, which is not the one we just talked about. But that's up at JimFights.com as well. How about you, Jim?
Well, I've got 3 college games up right now for tonight. I've got three games up for the weekend in the NFL. And Dave, I just want to bring up one more quick subject for you. You do really well in the kind of lower end of the college basketball. You look for spots with teams that a lot of people never even hear about, but you know that there's edges there because the odds makers don't follow those teams that well and they make mistakes in the line.
Yeah, it's like that in football as well. I mean, I like, it doesn't matter to me what conference teams is, so a lot of the games I end up involved in are not marquee matchups.
And that gives you an edge because the bookmakers have they can't follow every team as closely. And so if you pick out a conference that nobody's really focusing, very much of their attention on, you can get some extra edges. And that's what we do for you folks. If you go to JimFights.com or VegasSportsMasters.com, you can pick up our plays, and we're going to make some money between now and March Madness and through March Madness, and then we'll move on to the NBA playoffs and Major League Baseball. So we got a lot to do this year, and thanks, Dave. We appreciate it.
Sounds good, kid.